What's up, everyone? Mythic Talks back once again. This is episode number 17, and we're going to be talking about our top eight predictions today for Arlington. But before we get in that, we have a little bit some other things to discuss, like the Mythic Draft 4v4 that took place this weekend. Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how it went?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, C4. It was a blast. It was so much fun to have so many members of the community jump in and join the draft tournament. We were a little bit worried a couple weeks before the tournament because we only had like 17 or 18 signups, and that wasn't enough for us to put on a good tournament for everybody in the community. But thankfully, with the help of Licinity, reposting our stuff and giving us some ideas of how we can get more signups and everything like that, we really made it come together. We ended up with 40 signups with a couple of subs on the other side of things too. And the great news about it is it went really, really smoothly. We had a little bit of a delay starting, which is okay, especially for our first podcast. Our first draft tournament there. It was a learning curve for sure, working with a producer and how all of that process works. We got some great feedback as well from the community members who managed to send some feedback over to myself, how we can make things a little bit better for next time. And we're always looking to grow, obviously, but everybody showed up. We didn't need a single sub. Everybody was there on time. They were in their voice channels, and it was us who was a little bit delayed with the production starting, which is always a good thing that we didn't have to rely on somebody else. And it was really our fault that we started late. But thank you so much for everybody. And congratulations to Goldham Wartwalk. I said I was never going to have to say that name again, but I guess I did. um, on winning it, obviously. And congratulations to Mr. Mayhem from HCS Pro Talk on his first draft tournament entry and his first draft tournament win. Huge W's there. And we appreciate all this love and support that came through, whether you're watching, playing, or just chatting it up with us afterwards. Thank you very, very much. Other than that, we do have a pretty short podcast plan for today. It's just our Arlington predictions, C4. We're joined here with obviously Legend C4, myself, Quick Views. We got Only Use a Frag and Mr. Epic Beast. The other members of Mythic Gaming are either working or have other things going on, so we couldn't get them on board today, but we're really, really excited for this one. How are you feeling today, Beast?
I'm feeling great. Great weekend watching the tournament. Got the pleasure of working behind the scenes with Ashley a bit and learned a lot. And yeah, I think everything went smoothly. It was really fun to watch the entire event and incredible Halo. It just gets me more excited. Can't wait to see our team compete at Dallas. And yeah, I'm feeling great. Ready for these predictions.
How about yourself, Ben? Did you get a chance to drop in and check out the tournament, or were you at work that day?
I was at work all day. I think that day I was doing a 13 hours, so I didn't get to see anything.
No, that's not a problem at all. We're happy to have you here on the podcast. You are a valued member of this podcast. I think you've been on every one that we've done. And again, huge shout out to Ashley Blair, too. The tournament would not have run as smoothly as it did without her assistance in adminning. We cannot thank her enough for what she did for us pre-tourney, during the tourney, as well as after the tournament. Thank you very much, Ashley. And we look forward to the next one. C4, why don't you lead us off into where we're heading?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about like the top eight predictions. Usually we would have done like some pool play predictions and stuff like that, top 16. But we're gonna make it a little bit easier on everybody tonight. But before we jump into that, this stream is sponsored by noobcombo.com. Go check out noobcombo.com. We always have tournaments listed under the events section, but everything you need to know for HCS Arlington is on the main page, homepage. There is an article there that I had personally put up myself. I did use some references from the Pro Talk Discord. Ashman had put together basically a whole pinned message in there with all the information, and there's a couple things I had to find on Twitter myself, but everything is listed on noobcombo.com. You have the Halo Waypoint article, which talks about the whole event and what's going on. You have the ticket link if you want to grab yourself a last minute ticket. You have Team Pass link if you want to compete. And then you have the location there and everything, and then as well as drops, talent, map rotations is literally there. I mean, almost everything is there that you need to know, other than what's going to actually happen at the event behind closed doors. But yeah, I mean it's pretty dope. I got everything listed there for you, how it's going to work, and who got qualified, and who got travel coverage. So it's pretty cool. Go check out that. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping everybody got their best top 8 picks here. I know that me and Ben put ours together a little last minute, but hey, we're here nonetheless, and we can just jump right into it.
Yeah, before we jump into that, C4, I really
Yeah,
want to talk about the talent,
yeah,
right? Again, we
yeah.
have we have some familiar faces that are coming back, obviously, with Onset and Bravo, Gaskin,
Mhm.
Schurzy, of course, Lottie and Blaze. Why not? Clutch and Walshy, they're there. Goofy hasn't really been around though, and he is coming back for Arlington. I'm pretty excited to have him back on as an analyst. His
Yes.
perspective is always appreciated for sure.
Yeah, he's been, I think, mostly behind the scenes working with esports engine, helping run the event, making it a smooth process. So it's like it's really interesting to see him coming back. He's one of the best casters. I love his energy that he brings, and I can't really tell you the last time I've seen him cast. I believe it was like Raleigh or one of the first, like maybe Kansas City when I've seen him cast last. So it's been a straight minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, to kick things off here, why don't we get Mr. Only Use a Frag? Why don't you start us off with your predictions?
Oh, all right. So I think I got going for between top 8. So Shopify for first. I don't think that's a shock to anyone. Um, After that, I think it's going to be second going to Optic, unless they pull themselves together, they could take the
Yeah.
first. Except I haven't seen too much, so I'm just kind of going off of what I know. After that, though, in third, probably gonna look at SSG. I know I've seen those guys do pretty well, so and
That's
I
kind
love
of
their
a hot
their
take
brand.
currently because they really aren't doing too
Yeah,
hot in scrims and in
I
previous
s-
tournaments and stuff like that. But I really think the first major LAN event, they're really going to elevate themselves to really
yeah,
put themselves in contention to not just be that third seed team that everybody thinks they are, but I think they're going to elevate and bring them up to even be in contention to win Arlington because they do have so many world champions on that roster.
yeah, I completely agree. I haven't seen too much. I think the one time I did see them, I saw a match and they were doing well. So
Mhm.
going in the fourth, I don't know. That's a tricky one for me because I after those original three, it's a little tough. So I'm probably just gonna go with either Phase or forgetting all the teenager now. Or Complexity, just a wild card.
I mean, Complexity definitely have the talent there to do something big. I
They
mean,
absolutely have that talent. They
I
have a
know
lot
their
of names on
scrims
there.
their scrims haven't been going necessarily their way 100%, but they've definitely showed promise for sure.
But that's definitely fourth, fifth for me. Is between those two, Complexity and Phase.
Mhm.
After that, I mean, it would be TSM and Gen G, just because those are big names. I haven't gotten to see too much of them.
That's a really interesting kind of bottom half of your predictions there. Um, I was not thinking Gen G was going to be up there, and myself personally, I will get to mine there. But
Mhm.
knowing that Ryan Noob's on the roster of that Gen G squad, I'm pretty sure they are going to be competitive. But how competitive are they going to be in the likes of like Luminosity, in the likes of Nemesis coming from EU, right? That Nemesis roster's been scrimming.
Nemesis is looking really good.
They've been looking really good. They've been scrimming basically every day since they got to the boot camp in Texas, obviously. So I've watched quite a bit of Woodham streams and stuff like that, and they're going like 50% map wins against some of the top teams in the SSG in the Shopify
Right?
and that kind of stuff. So they're gonna be, I think they're gonna be kind of that dark horse roster that's gonna come out and really surprise everybody. And who knows, maybe they'll take the W.
Yeah, who knows, man? I
Absolutely.
mean, there's no way to really tell. I mean, scrims like don't really mean everything. Obviously, they do tell quite the story, but it's just like it's online. We know shots don't register. Some people can just naturally shoot faster. I mean, that could play a role. Some people just take
Just learn
too
what
much
their
damage.
registration's at.
Yeah, some people just take infinite amounts of damage. No pun intended, but like it's it's just one of them things. But yeah, Beast, why don't you tell us a little bit about your top 8 picks?
Okay, I'm gonna work backwards here. Build up the hype as we go. But
Okay.
in seventh, eighth, I have Luminosity and Nemesis. I do think EU cracks into the top eight again with Nemesis. They've been playing well. They've stuck. They've been playing together for a while now. And Luminosity, that's the you know they've been showing it on all these onlines that they are a little bit ahead of some of these other teams, and I think they make it here, which is good placing for them. Fifth, sixth, I have TSM and Ether, an open bracket team, which is a big surprise there. But I think with tapping buttons going um, back to that squad after his bouts in the NA, I think it's going to yield a lot of great success for them, as the team was doing pretty good without tapping last year. I think it's going to be a step up. And TSM, they haven't been doing great online, but that squad with Druck and Soul Snipe, and they've just been playing together for so long. I think that just the way they mesh together is going to bring them to this spot. But I don't think their ceiling is much higher, personally. Other teams have all made big roster changes that improve the team, when this team probably took a little bit of a step back losing last shot. Um, in fourth place, I have FaZe. I think the rest of the pack is starting to catch up to FaZe a little bit. We saw in the case on LAN that FaZe didn't perform as well, and I think that's kind of where they're going to fall again in that fourth spot. Third place, I have SSG. They're still improving. I think they got a couple more kinks to work out. I think potentially maybe after this LAN they have potential to improve, but I mean, we'll see how they do on this. I just think that they haven't caught up to where my top two teams are. Second place, I have Shopify, which is a bit of a surprise because Shopify's been winning everything. However, in that case on LAN, if that final map wasn't on Origin, I felt like Optic was taking it. Frosty is a god at Origin. I'll give him that. And looking at the finals here, they play Origin in game 2 of Grand Finals. But I think Optic will then have a little time, as it's not the deciding game, to rebound and take the dub. So I have Optic in first.
Pretty solid picks there.
That is a very solid pick. That Ether pick is really kind of out there. I wasn't sure if any open bracket teams were going to be able to really crest into the top 8. Figured they would just be out kind of top, that 9 through 12 there.
Well,
I think
they've been
I
looking
just think
good
they
this
want
run.
to prove that they deserve a pool play spot. They kind of did last year, and they didn't get it back, and they're hungry.
Yeah, they are definitely. What made you choose Optic for first over Shopify? What were your thoughts in that process?
I mean, they've been kind of going back and forth. Optic has won one of the events. They've reset brackets a few times. I feel like they've been improving from what we've seen online. And like I said, I really feel like even at the case on LAN, like they were on the winner's side. They got no advantage for being on the winner's side. If there was a reset, or if that final game was on Origin, I think that was going a different way. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like if Formal can really lock in this tournament, which he always does, but if he can get super locked, as we always know, I think that's going to be one of the defining factors. But we really just need to see Bound and Renegade really just try to push the upper limits of what they're capable of, and I really do think, I mean, it's any man's game really with those top two, because you could go either way. I believe that 100%. But Shopify have been very consistent. But before Kelly, you want to go next, or you want me to go next with our top 8 picks?
Yeah, why don't you lead us into your picks there, C4, and let's see if they vary from Beast and obviously from Frag. We have kind of that top 2 is kind of the big touching point right now. Who's going to take home the win, obviously,
Yeah.
but we're in for some damn good Halo this weekend, and that's something that I can definitely say for sure.
Yeah, that for sure. Now, before I get in the top 8, I want to say there are 2 teams that I don't have on the top 8 picks that I think can break into top 8. That would obviously be Gen G and Ether. Um, obviously Ether's got to make it through open bracket first, but they've been looking promising in their scrim results. So we'll see how they play. But for my top seventh, eighth picks, because they go kind of coincide together in the bracket, I have Cloud9 and I have Complexity. It really between those two, it just really depends on how they show up that day. We both know, they're great teams. They're capable of many things. But moving on, we got the fifth, sixth spots. I got TSM. I've got Nemesis. I really think Nemesis really has potential to break in the top six this event. Like they really put up a good fight against Shopify and Optic because both the teams don't really know how they kind of play yet because this is like their first time scrimming this past week. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays. TSM though, really, honestly, even though I got them in the fifth spot, I think they could go fourth, maybe even third, depending on how like they stack up against an SSG or something. So that's going to be cool to see how that plays out if they get a land buff, which they always do. But are they going to take that land buff to the next level? Is the question. But yeah, in my fourth spot, just basing most of this off of the Kson phase event, I got phase in fourth, I got SSG in third, I've got Optic in second, and I got Shopify in first. Although I have Optic in second, I really do think they have the potential to win this whole event. They have not won their past two hosted events of Arlington in the past 2 years, so maybe they pull out the dub in this one. Shopify has been very consistent lately, and that roster is just phenomenal. And I got the chance today to watch the narrative. They posted another episode, which I didn't think they were actually going to come back, and they literally last minute put one up, which was great. They talked about one of the questions they said is like which player is really going to show up at this event and cement their legacy, going out. And I think Frosty is really the player to look at other than like a formal or a last shot. I really think Frosty is just going to be that player. We got to really pay attention to him because he's about to pop off, son. Like he's not looked like this since Halo 5. So those are
Mhm.
my top 8 predictions. What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, so my top 8 predictions, they're really similar to everybody else's, obviously.
Mhm.
So the seventh, eighth spot, I actually have TSM and Complexity. For those
Okay.
two, they're gonna TSM. They took a pretty big hit, losing last shot and picking up Soul Snipe. Like Soul Snipe's an okay player. He's like a mid-level pro. He's no superstar like Last Shot is, obviously. And I really think the speed that Last Shot plays at and how much damage he outputs, that was a big reason why that previous pure roster did so well last year. I think Complexity is going to break into the top 8 though. In my fifth, sixth spot, I have Nemesis and Luminosity. I
Mm.
think Peggy's on a little bit of a revenge arc here, and that roster looks really, really good, and they've been doing really well in their scrims as well against some of these larger teams.
Mhm.
Fourth place, I do have FaZe. I don't think they've done enough to prove that they're going to be able to break into the top 3. They have definitely scrimmed well against the Optic, Shopify, Space Station. They have scrimmed really well against them. But when it comes to land, they just haven't proved themselves yet, as we saw with that invitational that FaZe put on with the case on land there. Third place, I have SSG. Third and second place, if SSG gets the land buff that I think they're going to get, they are very good contention to being the second place team at Arlington. But like B said, I don't think they're quite there. I don't think they're
Yeah.
quite there to break into the top 2 yet. But they will be towards the end of the year. And that's why this year is going to be so incredible for the competition and everything like that. Second
Yeah.
place, I have Shopify. And the only reason why I put them there instead of first is Optics going to be coming different in Arlington. As much as I would love Shopify to win because they are a Canadian kind of based organization and everything like that, I
Mhm.
just think that once Optic gets on land, Formo's going to take it a little more seriously.
Mhm.
And if you've watched any of the Optic Halo podcasts, they've actually talked about how they've been starting to work really hard on Origin and going back and watching the film and learning all these tricks and stuff like that to make sure that they can kind of get in to the contention on that map. And they're going to come out different at their home event.
Yeah, those are really solid picks. I was about to say you picked Optic because you're just an Optic fan. For a
I am
second, that's why I was
I'm
laughing. It's like,
100% an Optic fan, but I'm not going to be biased, right? Shopify has put
yeah.
in the work. They've won literally almost everything, but after the FaZe Caseland event, they were tied in maps 30-30.
Oh, they were dead even. They were
Dead
dead even.
even, and the grand finals in that FaZe Caseland land really leaned towards Shopify because I think there was 2
Mhm.
Origin maps. One was a Slayer for the Game 7, and I think there was a flag in there as well. And obviously Frosty being the Oracle of Origin as he's called now,
Yeah.
he is very deadly on that map, and I think that's what's elevated Shopify to be where they are. But we'll be interesting to
Now
see what they see on this weekend.
the thing is like, what does Optic? We can talk about the other teams in a second, but what does Optic got to do? You think? And I'll give you my personal opinion too. Like, you maybe to solidify a win here. In my personal opinion, I think they just need to try to learn how to control the pace of the game a little bit better because we know like Shopify is a very super fast team, and if you can figure out a way to kind of like slow them down, I think that's probably the key, honestly. But what are y'all's thoughts on that?
Yeah, so
Um,
go ahead, Beast.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like they definitely know how to play each other like really well. We watched that go to was it Game 7 at Kason,
It was Game 7, yeah.
and
It was Game 5
so
before that, I
basically,
think, too.
in my opinion, we watched them basically tie because Optic only lost once and Shopify only lost once. I know the format says Shopify won and everything, but
Hmm.
because but
Yeah,
Optic, it's supposed to be double elim
that
in my
format was
opinion.
ass. Let's be honest.
Like I wanted to see that reset so bad, and it's like
It's
I feel like Optic, they can play fast. They play at that level that Shopify can, and I think they've proved it. We've just you know land's a different environment. I think Optic has the experience for it, and I think just the nerves. The nerves are how they're gonna beat Shopify.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
100%.
yeah. What were your thought, Ben? You haven't like, really got to see too much, have you? Do you know anything? Like,
No, I think I saw a game like the first 3 or 4 games of the grand finals, and then I had to go to sleep.
feel you.
So I mean, for what I saw, I think I saw. If I remember correctly, I think it was game 1 with the Shopify, and then I just remember there being a reverse, and then it went, and then I missed the rest.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, unfortunately, Optic didn't get a chance to really well, they reset. They could have
there
reset
was
the
a very
bracket. But,
strong, like there was one game that was very strong showing for them, and then after that, I didn't see much.
just Optic could have. I think honestly, if they could have had the chance to go into a reset, that could have been a whole different story at the phase event
Yeah,
basically.
I agree that the format was not ideal. But I'm sure these guys they knew that going into this.
Oh, they knew. Everybody should have known
Yeah,
at that point. But
they
they
should have
still.
known. So I mean, like
Single
everything
day
was on the line
tournament
with that
for fun.
one.
What were you gonna say, Beast?
I was just saying single day tournament for fun. Like it
Mhm.
was pretty late when that all wrapped up.
But
So
but who throws a tournament and doesn't do a reset with a? They already had a double elim. I don't get what was behind that. I mean, it was a single day. I mean, I guess they didn't want to go super late, but like it was only one more
what's one more
series.
series?
Yeah, what's one more
What's one
series?
more series? That'd be about an hour 15.
Yeah, I think it had to do with everybody when they had to clean it up, right? Because I think they used the complexity center there, and they needed to have everything cleaned up and out of there right after the tournament. So they would have had their crews working until 2 or 3 in the morning, and I think it was more so to do with the unpacking crews versus how long the actual broadcast was on for, compared to anything else. I'm not sure. That's just kind of what I've heard in the rumor mill of the Halo scene. I don't like to assume anything, but that's kind of what I've heard.
Makes sense. Makes sense. But
Right.
yeah, Kelly, what are your thoughts? Like, what does Optic got to do to really take down Shopify?
I think they're just gonna have to elevate their speed, right? They're gonna have to
Yeah.
utilize their speed. Like they have Renegade, they have Bound, and they have Legend. That's 3 of the fastest players on the map. Use it.
Hmm. And
Simple as that.
Formal's no slouch himself either. So I
No,
mean, like
Formal's like the
he's like a
roaming
walking
machine
turret.
gun, exactly, right? So
Yeah.
he just roams and he puts down damage and everything like that. Like you look at all the damage numbers after their matches, typically Formal's right at the top. He might not have as many kills. He might not have he might have the most deaths on the roster, but he also has the most damage and does lots of
Hmm.
those critical plays, and he can clutch up when he is needed, right?
Oh, yeah,
There's something
absolutely.
about championship Formal that if Formal could play at championship Sunday level every single time, I don't think there's a team that would touch that Optic roster, right? He just elevates himself to the occasion and he plays up to his competition. And he's done that throughout his entire career, right? That's why he is as famous as he is and as good as he is and multiple titles, is because he plays up to what is required.
Yeah, and but speaking on some of these other teams like SSG, they like we talked, they haven't really looked that hot, this season. They've been trying to figure out what's going to work for them and stuff, and they got like three different types of leaders on that team, as far as like in-game leaders. But it seems like they've been playing a little bit better. What do they really got to do? You think to step it up and try to make it to that grand finals? Anybody want to go? Kelly, you want to go?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be what do they have to do to add to step it up? I think they're slowly starting to learn how each other plays. There's
Hmm.
multiple play styles on that roster, right? And I think everybody except for Stellar was really in that IGL. I put big quotations on that because I've talked to quite a few people who's like, the IGL role really has to be literally everybody. Call the play when it's required with the information that you have. But lots of them played that, like Lucid played really slow and methodical, right? That's why Optic was so good ever in their plays and that kind of stuff, right? Then you had Eco. Eco's just kind of like a roaming information gatherer. Like that guy just sneaks around the map and gets all the info and that kind of stuff. And then you obviously have Snakebite, right? So I think they're just having a hard time meshing all of the play styles together to make it a cohesive unit. But I think they'll get there. I think they've put in the work, and I think they're going to do an excellent job come Arlington this weekend. And they're definitely walking away with third. And if they don't walk away with something like third or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some team changes and stuff and roster changes after Arlington.
You never know. I mean, with this league or this
It's all
scene.
possible with this league. Yeah.
Beast, what are your
Um,
thoughts on SSG?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. I feel like Lucid being in Florida, he never plays as good online, and they
Yeah.
play better on LAN, which we did see. They went and they beat FaZe on LAN, and Lucid looked a little more like his former self. But I feel like one of the big problems with this team was you had two of the longest duos, Royal 2, Snakebite, Lucid, Trippy, get broken up, and then they're thrown on this team. And I feel like, when you have like your person that you're normally roaming the map with or your go-to like mesh person, and then you take that away, it definitely takes a longer adjustment than just like Bound just moved to Optic with Legend, who he loves playing with. Like it doesn't change as much as like saying splitting like a Trippy, Lucid, Snakebite, Royal 2. Like you know they got to completely like relearn how they play this game together, and I think it's starting to get there. And if that can start to click, they can ascend the ladder.
Yeah. Ben, do you have any thoughts before I go into my spiel about it?
I think for me, I think that they probably potentially suffer from the same problem that one phase roster had, where
Mhm.
it was just all superstars and they just weren't clicking. Um, Obviously with time they could have, but that roster fell apart for obvious reasons. But I think
You're
you
talking
have
about
three
season one.
playmakers on that squad, so like it's really trying to figure out who's doing what and when. Like everyone doesn't have a set role in comparison to their prior squads.
Mhm.
Um, Lucid was like Kelly said, methodical player, which a lot of his playmaking came from that methodical playstyle. Where Stellar was more speed oriented or catching someone off guard with that snipe that's deadly. um, and an Eco is just like a calm clutch playmaker. Like if you need him to pull something off, he pulls it off. So it's everyone just trying to fit in one square, and
Yeah.
there's too many pieces.
So yeah, from what I've seen personally, and I haven't gotten to watch every scrim. It's hard to catch every single thing going on every week. But from what I've seen in some of the scrims I've caught, they have been a little bit discombobulated on the map, and what I mean by that is like they're a little bit too spread out at times. Sometimes they're like on opposite ends of the map fighting individual battles, kind of like some of the lower skill players. It seems like all the other high school, obviously,
Like matchmaking.
they're yeah, kind of like matchmaking. They're kind of just playing off on these islands, and I feel like they've just got to figure out like what is our game plan on the map, like what are we going for? And I think one of the ways they can succeed is like they need to pick a leader, and like somebody just needs to be the one shot caller, and then somebody can kind of fill in if he's kind of dropping the ball. But like I think Eco should be that guy because he was the guy before, and then like Lucid just needs to be lucid. He needs to obviously he's like more of like a kind of a slower player at times. He kind of baits a little bit and play and anchors a little bit sometimes. But I think he needs to be the guy with along with Stellar that just is highly aggressive, super aggressive, playing fast, and then Snakebite just needs to be on that OBJ like 100% doing his thing. Like if they can figure out like who's going to be shot calling, and it could be either of them. It could be Snakebite, Lucid, or Eco. But I think Eco is just like let him do his thing as the IGL. Of course, you got Elmite to kind of back you up. But like Lucid and Stellar just need to be those two guys, man. They just need to be on the fucking map, just doing work. And then Snakebite's kind of like the fill-in. He's kind of like a penguin of the world. He's just
Defensive
doing.
Slayer.
Yeah, he's like the support, the Slayer, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Just let him kind of do his thing, and I think that team can play a whole lot better if they can figure that part out. But that, like I said, I think the main issue is just like they're playing on islands sometimes a little bit too much. Of course, there are times they're playing together, but they just need to be more consistent in that area, in my opinion. But yeah, and then you taking a look at Phase. Um, Phase, man, I don't know. I think they've been playing pretty well considering like I think everybody was kind of putting them under the bus in terms of like that chemistry and that roster. I think Phase. I don't know really what they could do differently. Honestly, they've been playing decently,
It's
but
just going to take time, I
also
think, with the phase roster,
yeah.
right? Simple as that. Now that they're got to get more land reps under their belt as a squad, I think.
Hmm.
And nobody would have expected them to come out and obviously during the opens leading up to this and hit those like third place finishes, second place
Hmm.
finishes, right? And taking
Yep.
down some of the bigger teams online, right? We can never count out any team with Trippy on it. Trippy is, they call him Big Game Trip for a reason. And I think him and Penguin are a big responsibility when it comes to Phase's success so far.
Yeah, yeah. Penguin's definitely that guy for sure. That's I feel like has been really leading that team to the success they've had so far. TSM on the other hand, I don't know. The only thing I can think differently about them is like they play really super fast and highly aggressive. I do notice they kind of do the same thing like SSG does. They're kind of like always pushing alone. Sometimes they're not necessarily coordinated on every attack, every push. But I think what really could benefit them sometimes is just being a little bit more patient, playing a little slower sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
waiting for those pushes together, and then you can play fast. So yeah, I think that's their key to success is just slow down sometimes, and then just wait for your teammates to get together for the push. But who knows? I'm just a freaking low am here. Like
Yeah.
I'm on the low totem pole. I don't know much outside of that. I can
No,
only see
again,
what I
we're
can see.
just viewers who watch a lot of this and kind of can dictate just kind of based on what we see. And obviously we don't know the answers. Nobody really does. Like we could have a
I don't even think
completely
they
different
always know
thing.
the answers.
Exactly. Like we could be totally wrong in these predictions and all of a sudden out of nowhere we have Nemesis in the grand finals, right? Because
Who
they have
knows?
something
Yeah.
to prove, right? And they are that good of a roster to get there with who they have. Um, and it'll just kind of depend on what kind of shakes down and the nerves. And obviously, it's the very first HCS LAN of the year, which we're all super excited to happen this weekend,
Yep.
obviously. And I think C4, you're going, correct?
Yeah, I'll be going. Be getting there Thursday night. Be there all weekend. It's gonna be fun. I will be observing for LVT on Friday, so that's gonna be cool. First time doing that ever on land. Got the chance to do that this past weekend in the Forge Hub tournament. It was an absolute blast. So I'm gonna be helping them out. They're gonna have a double feature main stage bracket for the open brackets area. So that's gonna be the first time we've seen that, other than the Salt Lake event. So this will be
Yep.
the first time they've had 2 stages. So that's going to be cool. I'm not sure who else is going to be observing that weekend. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be competing in the FFA and whatever else I get my hands into. So, looking forward to maybe doing some more karaoke. Who knows? Yeah, I wish you guys could come out. It'd be a blast to get the Mythic gang together, but it's it's one of them things that doesn't always work out. But yeah, does anybody got thoughts on Arlington? Like other than that,
How about
I
you,
know.
Beast?
Yeah, Vince, you got
That's
anything?
pretty much all I have. I hope you have fun at the event there, C4. Do you have stickers to pass out or?
I didn't get any made. I do have some leftovers from Worlds. So I'm gonna bring some of the leftovers. I've got some of the partner team logos. I got a couple of Sparty SSD stickers. I think I got some SSG keycaps that were extras, so I'm gonna probably bring them just to get rid of them. And then I've got some extra stickers from like the other partner teams, like Sentinels, that were obviously they're no longer around for Halo. And I've got some SSG stuff I might bring just in case if somebody didn't get one at the last event. So I'll make a post about that and show them all off. And then if you can find me, that's one thing. I'll be wearing this hat. You'll see this hat, tall ass dude. I'll be at the LV2 booth, like I said, on Friday. I'm not sure if I'll be in the open area where you can see me, but I'll definitely be around Saturday and Sunday where you can find me somewhere. So if you want to get some of those stickers, just come up to me and snag one, snag a couple if you want. Hell, I got a bunch. So yeah. Other than that, I really don't have much. Other than I'm excited that there's going to be a complexity booth. There's going to be a Shopify booth. They got a poster and a postcard with a claw machine with some giveaways, and then SSG is apparently got a booth, so that's going to be fun. So I can't wait to see what they bring.
Yeah, obviously Optical have a booth there. It's their home event as well.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's nice to see that the teams are actually coming together now and putting booths back in the venue to sell the merch, that kind of stuff. It just brings the whole cohesiveness of the scene together.
hmm
Even though all the orgs are competing against each other, it's just we do really need to. The strength of the HCS community and the Halo community as a whole is very strong. Everybody's really
Oh yeah,
close knit. And it's going to be an
everybody's super
excellent time.
cool.
I'm really excited to watch this weekend. Obviously, we'll be watching from home. Haven't quite decided if I'm going to do a Mythic Gaming watch party yet. We will see how the weekend kind of shakes out, but I'm definitely going to be tuning in, watching as much of the tournament as I possibly can from home, because there's nothing better than a full weekend of great Halo, obviously. Anybody in the chat have any questions? Anybody agree or disagree with us kind of on our predictions here? If not, I really think that's really all I have to kind of talk about. We'll give kind of the chat a few minutes here just to see if they want to chime in with us, obviously.
Yeah,
Well,
I can probably join you if you do a watch party or something. At least some of the days or be in and out. But I'm definitely very excited to watch Arlington. Like competitive Halo is a great thing. Like
Mm,
so
it's
entertaining. I
lovely.
love it. Yeah, C4. I hope you have a blast. Go kill it in the FFA.
I'll do my best, man. I haven't got to. I
Round
practiced a
4,
little
you
bit.
got it.
I practiced a little bit last week. I had some good placings. I had three or four fourth place finishes. I had a second place finish, and then I had like one terrible finish. It was like eighth place, and it was that was just sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. But I didn't get to practice last night. I was tired, extremely tired. Didn't get to practice Sunday. I was busy, and Saturday I was busy with the tournament, and then tonight, obviously, we're doing the podcast. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Maybe I'll get one more night of practice in, which would be tomorrow night after I get all packed up and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to lean on my teachings from Deputy Goober, who's also going to be there. So hopefully, Deputy Goober can pull out another dub. But shout out to Nito, who said he's going to win. We'll see how that plans out for him.
I think he's been saying that
Yeah.
every land, hasn't he?
Yeah, but
Yeah, he has.
particularly this one, he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna win. I just know it. I had a dream. I don't know if he said that part, but he's like, yeah, I'm gonna win this one. And I'm like, yeah, bro, you totally got it, man. You totally got it. Yeah, Nito's awesome. I love Nito and the whole regulator crew. If you want to go practice FFA at any point in your this year, just head over to Noob Combo. I've got a grassroots section. There's a bunch of different discords that you can go find, and regulators are under there with the Discord link. So they're all cool guys. Don't feel like nervous or anything. They're all really chill, especially Deputy Goober, the chillest guy I probably know out of that whole group. So it's gonna be a blast, guys. So yeah,
No, that is
doesn't look like
awesome.
doesn't look like chat has anything. So
It doesn't look like that at all. Once again, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're here live, this is our first kind of live version of the podcast. Typically, we just record them and post them on YouTube. So make sure you follow us here, subscribe to us on YouTube. We will be posting this one as well to the YouTube channel, so that if you missed it, tune in, say hello, write your comments down below on who you think's taking HCS Arlington, obviously. Other than that, everybody have themselves a good night. We are going to raid out to our main man, Mailman, to end the podcast here. So go show Mailman some love, chat. Have yourselves a great night, and we will catch you on the weekend.
peace.